Ooh, scary. Welcome back, everyone, to Mediocre's Mystery Corner. Today we'll be diving into part 2 of the Unsolved Mysteries Iceberg. I hope you enjoyed part 1, and are as excited as I am to begin part 2. If you're enjoying this content, please don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps me out. And without further ado, on to the video. Amelia Earhart. Amelia Marie Earhart was born July 24th, 1897. In 1937, during an attempt to become the first woman to complete a circumnavigational flight of the globe, flying a Lockheed Model 10 E-Electra airplane, Earhart and her navigator Fred Noonan disappeared near Howland Island in the Central Pacific Ocean. The two were last seen in Lae, New Guinea, their last land stop before Howland Island, a very small location where they were intending to refuel. It is generally believed that they ran out of fuel before they found Howland Island and crashed into the ocean near their destination. Nearly 1 year and 6 months after she and Noonan disappeared, Earhart was officially declared dead. The mysterious nature of Earhart's disappearance has caused much public interest in her life. Her airplane has never been found, which has led to speculation and conspiracy theories about the outcome of the flight. Decades after her presumed death, Earhart was inducted into the National Aviation Hall of Fame in 1968 and the National Women's Hall of Fame in 1973. A couple of conspiracy theories. Gardner Island Hypothesis. The Gardner Island Hypothesis assumes that Earhart and Noonan, unable to find Howland Island, would not waste time searching for it, instead turning to the south to look for other islands. The 157-337 radio transmission suggests they flew a course of 157 degrees that would take them past Baker Island. If they missed this, then sometime later they would fly over the Phoenix Islands, now part of the republics of Kiribati, about 350 nautical miles southeast of Howland Island. One of the Phoenix Islands, known as Gardner Island, has been the subject of inquiry as a possible landing crash site. The International Group of Historic Aircraft Recovery presented a hypothesis that Earhart and Noonan found Gardner Island, uninhabited at the time, landed the Electra on a flat reef near the November 1929 wreck of freighter SS Norwich City, and sent sporadic radio messages from there. The Japanese capture theory. Another theory is that Earhart and Noonan were captured by Japanese forces, perhaps after somehow navigating to somewhere within the Japanese South Seas Mandate. D6. CBS correspondent Fred Gorner published a book claiming that Earhart and Noonan were captured and executed when the aircraft crashed on the island of Saipan, part of the northern Mariana Island archipelago. Saipan is more than 2,700 miles away from Howland Island. However, later proponents of the Japanese capture hypothesis have generally suggested the Marshall Islands instead, which, while still distant from the intended location, is slightly more possible. In 1990, the NBC series Unsolved Mysteries broadcast an interview with a Saipanese woman who claimed to have witnessed Earhart and Noonan's execution by Japanese soldiers. No independent confirmation has ever emerged for any of these claims. Various purported photographs of Earhart during her captivity have been identified as either fraudulent or having been taken before her final flight. Amy Lynn Bradley. Amy Lynn Bradley, born May 12th of 1974, is an American woman who went missing during a Caribbean cruise on the Royal Caribbean International cruise ship Rhapsody of the Seas in late March 1998 while en route to Curacao. She was a 23-year-old Longwood University graduate at the time of her disappearance. Her whereabouts remain unknown to this day. After midnight on Monday, March 23, 1998, Amy and her younger brother Brad headed to the ship's nightclub to go dancing. Records show that Brad decided to return to his cabin earlier than Amy. The ship's door lock records show that Brad had entered his cabin at around 3:35 a.m., and Amy soon followed, approximately 5 minutes later. The two chatted before heading to bed. Amy's father, Ron, woke around 6 a.m. to check on his daughter, only to find her missing from the balcony she had slept on earlier. When authorities were alerted that Amy was missing, the Netherlands Antilles Coast Guard conducted a 4-day search in the surrounding waters and along the cruise lines to no result. Authorities began to speculate that she may have fallen overboard and drowned. There have been possible sightings of Bradley in Caraco. In August 1998, tourists saw a woman resembling Bradley on a beach, and in 1999, a member of the U.S. Navy claimed a woman in a brothel said that she was Bradley and had asked him for help. In the years after Amy's disappearance, some new evidence would arise, leading to theories including Amy being sold into the human trafficking industry, having found her potential remains. Angel hair. On November 2nd, 1959, Professor Gades do Amaral, I'm sure I mispronounced that, I apologize for that, a biologist and headmaster of a school located in the Portuguese city of Évora, was approached by a couple of students who were very agitated. They insisted the professor follow them outside to see this strange airplane. When they all had made it outside, Professor Goedes was astounded to see the aircraft was still there, a small gray-blue glowing object flown in the sky. The professor suggested they all return to his office to use his telescope to get a better view. The aircraft, a seamless elliptical object without wings or windows, was able to seemingly hover in place. Shortly after watching this UFO, a second one appeared out of nowhere. This one, similar to the first, was significantly larger. These crafts hung around for nearly a half an hour before flying away at speeds that seemed to defy the laws of physics. Upon the departure of the UFOs, a spider web-like substance began to fall from the sky. It was a hair-like, slimy substance that would begin to melt away when touched. Professor Amaral ran inside and grabbed a petri dish, which he used to capture some of the substance for further study. These strands were sent off to the University of Lisbon to be studied. However, before any concrete answers could be given, the university burned down in a massive fire and all of the samples were lost. Some believe another sample was taken from Professor Amaral's laboratory in 1960 by an independent group of researchers. This sample, which could be the key to solving the mystery in light of modern science, seemingly vanished. Angel hair rain. It's a mysterious phenomenon that has been observed on several continents over the centuries. The first official record of it dates back to 1561, and it happened in Nuremberg, Germany. In the wake of the miracle of the sun, white hair-like filaments also reportedly fell from the sky in Fatima, Portugal. The same phenomenon was observed again in 1898 in Montgomery in the United States, then in 1952 in Oloron, France, and yet again in 1954 at St. Mark's Square in Venice, Italy. Italian scientists were able to collect and analyze samples, and their findings were similar to Amaral's. Soviet scientists supposedly carried out a counter-analysis and concluded that the substance was unlikely to be formed by nature. The Axeman of New Orleans. The Axeman of New Orleans was an unidentified American serial killer who was active in and around New Orleans, Louisiana between May 1918 and October 1919. Press reports during the height of public panic over the killings mentioned similar crimes as early as 1911, but recent researchers have called these reports into question. As the killer's epitaph implies, the victims were usually attacked with an axe, which often belonged to the victims themselves. In most cases, a panel on the back door of a home was removed by a chisel, which along with the panel was left on the floor near the door. The intruder then attacked one or more of the inhabitants with either an axe or a straight razor. The crimes were not motivated by robbery, and the perpetrator never removed items from the victims' homes. The majority of the Axeman's victims were Italian immigrants or Italian Americans, leading many to believe that the crimes were ethnically motivated. Many media outlets sensationalized this aspect of the crimes, even suggesting mafia involvement, despite a lack of evidence. Some crime analysts have suggested that the killings were sexually motivated, and that the murder was perhaps a sexual sadist specifically seeking female victims. Criminologists Colin and Damon Wilson hypothesized that the Axeman killed male victims only when they obstructed his attempts to murder women, supported by cases in which the women of the households were murdered, but not the men. A less plausible theory is that the Axeman committed the murders in an attempt to promote jazz music, suggested by written correspondence attributed to the killer in which he stated that he would spare the lives of those who played jazz in their homes. On March 13, 1919, a letter purporting to be from the Axeman was published in newspapers, saying that he would kill again at 15 minutes past midnight on the night of March 19th, but would spare the occupants of any place where a jazz band was playing. That night, all of the city's dance halls were filled to capacity, and professional and amateur bands played jazz at parties and at hundreds of households around the town. There were no murders that night. Ball lightning. Ball lightning is a rare and unexplained phenomenon described as luminescent spherical objects that vary from pea-sized to several meters in diameter. Some 19th century reports describe balls that eventually explode and leave behind an odor of sulfur. Descriptions of ball lightning appear in a variety of accounts over the centuries and have received attention from scientists. An optical spectrum of what appears to have been a ball lightning event was published in January 2014 and included a video.
Well, we've seen a lot of wild weather this weekend, but take a look at this video shared with us on Twitter. There's a phenomenon ultra rare known as ball lightning. Can't really say if that's an example, but scientists can't really explain the phenomenon either, other than the fact that it looks like a ball of lightning exploding. Kind of looks like that, and sometimes leaves behind a sulfur smell.
Nevertheless, scientific data on ball lightning remains scarce. Although laboratory experiments have produced effects that are very similar to reports of ball lightning, how these relate to the supposed phenomenon remains unclear. Some characteristics of ball lightning. They frequently appear almost simultaneously with cloud-to-ground lightning discharge. They are generally spherical or pear-shaped with fuzzy edges. Their diameters range from 1 to 100 centimeters, or 0.4 to 40 inches, and are most commonly 10 to 20 centimeters, or 4 to 8 inches. Their brightness corresponds to roughly that of a domestic lamp, so they can be clearly seen in daylight. A wide range of colors has been observed, with red, orange, and yellow being the most common. The lifetime of each event is from 1 second to over a minute, with the brightness remaining fairly consistent during that time. They tend to move at a few meters per second, most often in a horizontal direction, but may also move vertically, remain stationary, or wander erratically. Many are described as having rotational motion. It is rare that observers report the sensation of heat, although in some cases the disappearance of the ball is accompanied by the liberation of heat. Some display an affinity for metal objects and may move along conductors such as wires, metal fences, or railroad tracks. Some have appeared within metal aircraft and have entered and left without causing damage. The disappearance of a ball is generally rapid and may be either silent or explosive. Odors resembling ozone, burning sulfur, or nitrogen oxides are often reported. The Baltic Sea Anomaly. The Baltic Sea Anomaly is a feature visible on an indistinct sonar image taken by Peter Lindberg, Dennis Aberg, and their Swedish Ocean X diving team while treasure hunting on the floor of the northern Baltic Sea at the center of the Gulf of Bothnia in June 2011. The team suggested their sonar image shows an object with unusual features of seemingly non-natural origin, prompting speculation published in tabloid newspapers that the object was a sunken UFO. Most scientists seem to agree that it's likely just a natural formation. This one's kind of just interesting, just kind of like piques my interest, I guess, finding just a random anomaly on the seafloor and being like, nope, this is a spacecraft, it's definitely aliens. What do you guys think about that? The Battle of Los Angeles. The Battle of Los Angeles, also known as the Great Los Angeles Air Raid, is the name given by contemporary sources to a rumored attack on the continental United States by Imperial Japan and the subsequent anti-aircraft artillery barrage, which took place from February 24th to February 25th, 1942, over Los Angeles, California. The incident occurred less than 3 months after the U.S. entered World War II in response to the Imperial Japanese Navy surprise attack on Pearl Harbor, and 1 day after the bombardment of Elwood near Santa Barbara on the 23rd of February. Initially, the target of the aerial barrage was thought to be an attacking force from Japan, but speaking at a press conference shortly afterward, Secretary of the Navy Frank Knox called the purported attacks a false alarm. Newspapers of the time published a number of reports and speculations of a cover-up to conceal an actual invasion by enemy airplanes. When documenting the incident in 1949, the United States Coast Artillery Association identified a meteorological balloon sent aloft at 1 a.m. as having started all the shooting, and concluded that once the firing started, imagination created all kinds of targets in the sky and everyone joined in. Basically just suggesting that some random balloon got a couple of people to fire. And because those couple of people were firing, everybody else was just like, yeah, take out the sun. Just started firing into the sky. The Beast of Bodmin Moor. On Tuesday the 26th of October, Jane Fuller, then 37 years old, was taking her dog for a late-night walk on the moor near her home in Cardigan, when she was struck from behind. The blow stunned her and knocked her to the ground. She told police that she believed that she had momentarily lost consciousness, but when she came round, her dog was standing close to her, growling and barking at something in the gloom. Looking around, Jane claimed she saw a very large, dark-colored cat-like creature watching her from a short distance away. It had a very long tail, 3 to 4 feet in length, and it curled upwards, and it was making a grunting noise. Beyond Jane's claims about her attack, a handful of farmers, amongst them John Goodenough, which awesome name, also came forward saying they have had their livestock go missing or be killed in the last few years, and they were convinced that these events were connected. The beast is the result of some 60 sightings of a black panther-like big cat, supposedly 3 to 5 feet long and sporting white-yellow eyes, combined with numerous reports of mutilated livestock. The evidence was robust enough that in 1995 the government ordered an official investigation into the existence of such a beast. The report finally concluded that there was no verifiable evidence of a big cat on Bodmin Moor, although it was careful to state that there was also no evidence against it either. Beebe's abyssal fish. Beebe's abyssal fish are deep-sea fish observed by William Beebe in a bathysphere in the North Atlantic Ocean, off Nonsuch Island, Bermuda, between 1930 and 1934, and have never been seen since. Beebe's bathysphere dives incorporated the first direct observations of abyssal fish in their natural environment. The 5 fish that he managed to record and name were called the abyssal rainbow gar, the giant dragonfish, the 5-striped constellation fish, the pallid sailfin, and the 3-starred anglerfish. On the 22nd of November, in 1932, Beebe was in a bathysphere 2,100 feet beneath the surface, around 5 miles off the southeast coast of Bermuda's Nonsuch Island. While down there, he observed 2 very unusual fish that swam past the bathysphere twice, no more than 8 feet from him. Due to these findings, he returned to this location multiple times throughout the 1930s and was able to discover 3 additional unknown fish, all of which he named. He was unable to capture any of the specimens, and to this day, no one else has been able to. For this one, I kind of believe it. I tend to lean more into this being plausible. The ocean being just so large and that we know so little about it, seems pretty likely that there's more than, even just those 5 fish that we've never seen before. Fairly interesting, though. What do you guys think? Is this something that you believe as well? Do you think it's a hoax? You just made it up for some extra money? Thank you, everyone, for watching. I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you like this kind of content, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps me out, and I appreciate it. This being only the 2nd video in the series, I know I have a lot to improve on still. I appreciate anybody that's tuned in for these first couple of videos. I know it's rough. I'm learning as I go along. I'm going to continue to learn. I'll make improvements all the time. So I just want to say thank you, especially if you watched the first video, you subbed and have stuck around. I really appreciate that. I do. I am looking forward to being able to better myself at this and to be able to bring you guys better content and more content in the future. Outside of that, I just want to say thank you again, and until next time, I'll see you later. Ooh, scary.